Hello, and welcome to a very special episode 500 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, the place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. Live in London. We're not here on our own, which everyone can see. No. My name is Vince Hunt, and joining me as always is an artist and creator with credits including Viper, Grimm's Scary Tales, Press Guardian and the Clock, and his epic webcomic series Vanguard. It's Dan Butcher.
Hello.
And alongside him, part of the brain trust behind Tribute Press, and a writer whose credits include Atomic Hercules, Stop Reading, Hidden Lives, Cockney Kung Fu, George Mayhem, and more troubling content that's now out in the world. It's Tony Esmond.
Thank you. I think that may be the only one you've ever been nice to me about.
Surely not. For 499 episodes, I've been an absolute delight to you.
You have.
And now we're here, episode 500, our second ever live show.
We've done cons before.
We've done conventions.
We did an online.
No one goes to them. No, I
think there's about 6 to 12 people in the con ones.
That was good going, actually, to be fair.
Yeah.
Numbers.
Yeah. So we are here. For those listening at home, this is a very surreal moment for all of us here on the podcast, because we're here in the Marquis Cornwallis Pub in London. Their lovely staff. Thank you to them. That we asked, can we do a podcast here? And they probably thought, what?
Only told me this morning.
Wow. That's how organised we are on this show. But we're going to talk about comics, and this is going to be slightly different to the normal episode. We don't have a recommendation section on the show. Nope. We're not going to do shout outs. It's going to be a bit short and sharper because these two want to drink until your faces fall off. I think that's.
We've got a quiz. Tom's doing a quiz.
For the people that are here, there's a quiz.
Is that a VIP chair you got there?
But it's already been quite a day, which we'll probably talk about later. But on this particular episode, we're looking at. Well, almost 10 years, 499 episodes, talking about small press and indie comics and publishing and stuff. So we're just going to look back and talk about like how we think things have changed, the ups and downs, peaks and troughs. We've all picked a specific subject we're going to talk about, and who knows where the conversation's going to go. If you've listened to this show, you know this is it could be wet and wild. Hopefully not wet because I've got the recording gear there, and got to be careful with that.
Stay dry.
Yeah.
Just leaky.
That's this show in a nutshell. Leaky. So, I think the best way to start this, over the 499 episodes, when we started this, we were just three people that were interested in independent comics. Yeah. We didn't really know each other. We've told this story a million times. Go back to our back catalogue and discover it if you're a new listener.
Basically, I'd met you once and you twice. That's it, I think.
Where was the second time you met
Nottingham.
me? You met? Oh, yeah, of course, because it was in the British Library.
Yeah, British Library.
In the toilets. Top of the staircase.
You nodded, I followed.
Yeah. And he's been following me ever since.
I met you at the Costa.
Was it Costa? On the bridge.
But that's gone.
You said, I'm not coming anywhere near you, you've got to come to me. And,
and he's been following him ever since. So we just wanted to talk about comics, but we didn't want to do... There's a lot of comics podcasts out there. If you listen to this, you probably listen to loads of different comic podcasts, but we talk about small press, independent publishing, making comics, and finding out more about it. Well, essentially, we just wanted to know more about it. And this show became something more. There's a wonderful community around it, although we're quite freaked out to be surrounded by a good chunk of that community right now.
It's not weird at all.
It may be the sexiest room of people I've ever seen. I know. Thank God this isn't a video show. But I think let's start from the sort of beginning. Since episode 1, and I do have a few questions for you guys. Okay. So you can't look at my phone because I've got the answers on me.
It's very hard not to look at your phone.
Yeah,
I know, because there's so much filth.
Your name's on the phone.
Yeah. Oh, he's on speed dial. No. So from episode 1, obviously things have changed in it in a variety of different ways. And one thing, we're going to start with
we're going to talk a little bit about the convention scene, which has changed quite significantly, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we started as a show, and then eventually... I mean, we were already creators that... Yeah. Some of us had tabled at conventions. Yep. Had not experienced some of the bigger conventions, had never been to a thought bubble.
I hadn't tabled in years.
Yeah.
Until we did
You were doing that furry comic, weren't you? Tabled down.
Yeah.
That's genuine.
That's genuine.
That is true.
I think that was pre-furry, and then it was kind of
Pre-furry. Is that how you refer to your career? Is that your career?
There's the pre-furry era and the post-furry.
I'm only saying this because you've got colleagues here, so I'm going to rub it in.
But I didn't really capitalise on that success. The Reynolds City comic.
That's it. That was
I think if they'd added more of the Y word in it.
You and Susie Gander did that, didn't you?
Yeah,
that's
did
right.
that back in the day.
So obviously, like you had tabled a little bit. Had you tabled back in Bristol?
Yeah, like in the end of the 90s.
Yeah.
When there was like 4 people making small press comics.
Yeah,
One
of
them was Shane Chebsey.
I had only just started to sort of table occasionally with a few
Yeah.
events. Just trying to get my name out there.
So that was a Comica event we met at.
Yes.
How did you get to find about that? Comicette?
Because like when you're starting out, you're just looking for anything. You know, where can I go to have my comics? Where can I have a table? And also, how can I afford it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just one of those ones that came out.
I think that was the same event. Where's Simon? I met you at that event. You was at Comicette.
King's Cross one.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
The lovely Simon Russell.
No, Simon Russell.
Yeah. We're going to have to do that a lot. We keep forgetting. Yeah. It's bad enough when we're on Zoom and we're like, look at this. And the audio listeners don't have a clue what we're talking about. Yeah, the gestures you make on Zoom are quite something. But yeah, so I had just started, and I mean the show, hopefully for other people as well as us, but it is like, how do you go about doing this? You know, where do you go? What do you find out? And certainly since we started, the small press and indie scene, we came along at a moment where there was a boom. Wasn't there really? There was a bit of a boom at the moment, and we'll talk about where it is now. Yeah. But what do you think about the convention scene, Tony, and like where it's gone?
I think pre-COVID, we got to the point where we could have done a convention every weekend. It was almost at that point, wasn't it? Some were even clashing twice. I think COVID obviously wiped that out for a while.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's ever come back in the same way. It's sort of I wrote a list of some that I realised we've lost. Trubes and the summer variant.
That's True Believers.
True Believers, yeah. I think
still got all the mugs.
We have, yeah. We were a guest of that. Who can believe it?
Every time I see this podcast name on a mug, I think we completely did them there.
It's a shame that Stuart isn't here. Stuart's a friend of ours.
Yeah, Stuart Mulrain, yeah.
But he comped us 2 rooms. Right, so Dan got early and booked his own. It was in his room on his own. Do you remember? And then I'm on the kids' bed because I lost the toss, and you were on the adult bed. And then we were both watching. Were you watching a Steven Seagal film?
No, it's Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren, that's right. And we were texting each other. Do you remember? It was between rooms.
Yeah.
So he was in his little own, his VIP room, and we were stuck there, and I was snoring. You were complaining.
Well, there was one of Stuart's mates came and sat with us in the breakfast, and we talked to her, like, got on well. And then later on in the day, this kind of character came up and started talking to us, like she knew us. I was like, who the bloody hell is this? And she was like cosplayed up, like she was like doing a cosplay.
That's
thing.
right.
Really kind
Yeah.
of, oh god, you're so and so. I can't remember her name. That's really sorry for listening.
I'd like to point out, if you ever speak to a female in a bar, he's got photographic evidence of it.
Dan's shaking his head.
So there was that. There was Leamington, which there is a rumour going around it's coming back, possibly.
Okay.
Is that right? Oh, you're looking at me like I shouldn't have said anything.
No.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of there was the Spike Leamington, Nottingham, True Believers,
that's a couple of the others.
and they were the ones that we sort of went to. You know what I mean? And I think purely because comics and like making your own stuff is such a personal thing that whenever you go to some sort of event, it feels like your event. Do you know what I mean? So whenever I was at like True Believers, I was like, oh, this is my convention. And I went to Nottingham and because they felt like independent shows as well. If I went to an MCM, well, me and Dan went to an MCM.
Dan cosplayed that one.
Did. Not to be out of turn.
Let's cross past that one.
Yeah. Those cons were kind of quite hand to mouth.
Yeah.
So when COVID came along, it was.
I think Stu said quite openly that he took a loss on the last one. Yeah. So a couple of the other ones. Bristol was back very briefly. You and I did Bristol. Yeah. That's where he got that complaint from that man who wrote a letter into us. Nottingham. That's where I met you, isn't it? We met at Nottingham. London Super Comic Con. Do you remember?
Oh, the heady days. Yeah. I mean, everyone's got stories and things, but we had a great time.
The worst convention ever. Nobody turned up to it, but we just...
I had a picture taken with a predator. That's like the best day of my life.
So we were so bored. We were so...
Not sexual predator. I just want to be clear about that.
So we got so bored that we wrote. Do you remember I wrote love notes to people who weren't there and put them in there? What was it? I said, is it Dan Harris? I said,
Dan Harris.
Let's get our fuck on.
Yeah.
I like your shorts. That's what it said.
They were trying to do like a Sherlock Holmes trying to work out who had sent them.
And we
note.
really had to.
And Tony was rolling up because obviously he's stitching them up. But that weekend it was a bank holiday. There was a tube strike.
It was a Notting Hill Carnival.
Carnival. It was virtually every single element you could possibly imagine on that weekend, and it was just no one turned up to the con. And we was like the small press was in a side bit that. Everyone went to the main floor, and there was no signs directing people up there.
I think there's some big stars. Ex-Man of War artist who was right upstairs. You remember?
Bart Sears.
He was like, "Oh my god!"
Massive.
I think. I mean, obviously, we had certain preconceptions about certain shows, but when a show has, unfortunately, doesn't get many people visiting, the small press and independent scene are the best trained people to experience that, because I think we've all experienced. I think everyone's got shows like I did this place and no one was there. Whereas if you're a big professional, you're probably expecting possibly big queues or numbers, and I didn't expect anyone to be here.
The best thing, my favourite thing about that period of conventions was like seeing the crazy out the corner of my eye coming over and ducking out the way, so you had to speak to them for like an hour and a half. Do you remember that dude who talked to you about Punisher for an hour and a half that time?
Yeah.
You were super nice to him. I don't know how you did it.
I'm super nice to everyone, you prick. No, yeah.
You had like black gloves on. You looked like a hair flick. Do you remember? You looked like that.
Yeah.
The last thought Bubba did, and that lady came up who was starred in an Only Fools and Horses tribute pornographic film.
The best thing about this lady came up, she'd been playing, she had a kid there, it's weird, isn't it? She was a very tattooed lady, and she was like playing with her kid, and then she comes over and just declares to me and Vince that she's a porn star, and then tries to stick her QR code sticker on us. Do you remember? And you hid under the table.
Fair.
I had to get my sandwich.
And then I clicked on it, and it was literally her having the sex in the back of the three-wheeler from Only Fools and Horses.
Her having the sex.
The sex, yeah. Only's ever happened once to me. So
and
you're like, I don't know what's happening. You're like, it's under the table.
Yeah. And I think what you learn there is that underneath all this bravado, we're just like you guys.
There's one time I remember I standing at the table and Tony nudged me and pointed me over, and there was a lady that came along in one of the scooters, and she had painted her face green, and she was like Yoda. And I was
why does all this happen when I'm not there?
But she tried.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think I hope that conventions have a bit of a revival.
Let's ask this question then. Because this question I've got written down. What's replaced them, if anything? Zine fairs? Is that now the thing?
They seem to have kind of either the big comic events like the MCMs.
They're still going, aren't they? Still popular?
Yeah, they're still big. Still big.
But
you two were going to kill yourselves after doing it that time.
That was a rough experience.
You gave me a sweet, and my tooth cracked in half. Good times.
Great. We did a London MCM, and it was an absolute everyone said, "Oh, you did really well there. You sell out." So we brought our comics of the
I brought a massive suitcase,
and we took massive suitcases home.
My suitcase was heavier when I came back.
Don't want to be taking these suitcases home, and
But saying that, they are good shows for certain people. They're like, and you just can't tell. Sometimes you have an absolute killer show. Oh, there's another one of the audience that's just left. And there is a certain amount of. I think people put too much emphasis on them. That's my concern. Like if these conventions come back, that people will put too much pressure on how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, it's always the common thing of when you turn up and you're trying to sell your book, and if sales don't go well, you can take it on board as like a kind of a commentary on the comic you're making or the art you're making. And just because the audience wasn't there on the day to buy your book doesn't lessen anyway. Yeah. But as a creator, you can sometimes, like say you do a music gig and not many people turn up. There's no commentary on how good or bad your music is. It's just that maybe people didn't know about it. But it's very hard to not.
But don't you think that the audience for the Leamington, Nottingham, all those little firms, do you think that's moved on, the audience for that? Because the zine
possibly
thing's massive. I was talking to Dan about it yesterday. The zine thing is now massive.
Yeah, possibly, but that's maybe a question for like how comics are culturally.
Yeah.
In the zeitgeist and stuff, you know, because like if you have like a manga show, there's going to be an awful lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people that have never listened to this show. You know, there's a huge, yeah. Who wouldn't listen to this show? I know. When you said riddled about Spotty, to me,
that's all I keep saying.
Last week, I lost it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don's the biggest Super Ted.
Yeah, he's a massive Super Ted fan. Absolutely massive Super Ted fan. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think will we see the days like what was it? 5 years ago? Actually, it would have been because COVID kind of stopped.
Yeah.
So some of the indie shows were sort of winding down or planning to have a break. COVID certainly changed everything.
It's up to individuals to kind of start these shows, and having tried to look like a cursory look into doing any kind of Comic Con, it's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah.
I mean, the organisation just for today was a pain in the ass.
Yeah. But also we have to factor in, and this goes across everything that we're going to talk about today, is life moves on. If you're an organiser, and I mean, we're talking about the experience of going to see these shows, but the organisers, things in their life could change. And if they don't do it, no one else is going to do it. So, you know, or people are really enthusiastic about the medium. 5 years later, they want to do something else with their lives. You know, it's a sad. You know, that's just the way it is sometimes, isn't it? You know, it's an industry that's constantly going to be moving on.
The old school comic industry was modelled on the fact that it cycles out people. You need those new readers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. How do you feel about conventions, Tony? Oh. Because you table more than us now with tribute.
Well, I table with this person and this person occasionally, and you. And
why do you keep pointing people?
I don't care.
This is an audio show.
Clifford Cumber, foul P and 4P, and this is like an exercise in them just taking a piss at me for about a weekend, and that's it. Really.
I mean, the thing is,
I know what you're thinking.
They are social events, but say you're like a creator on your own who hasn't tabled at an event and stuff. They are nerve-wracking, and obviously social situations can be pretty stressful anyway. But I think it's good. It builds up experience to go to one, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't do one on your own, man. That's like so boring sometimes.
It can be. You can be there for long tracks. So you're standing there, just looking desperate, trying to.
I was chatting to Alan Lisker about it last night about the people who sit behind tables. Oh, have you seen my book? You know, like I can't. It's not in me, man. I can't do it. You know, it's like it's the hard sell.
Maybe that's a different cultural thing, but maybe with the Brits, like.
I think Alan was quite uncomfortable about it.
People doing the hard sell.
I'm half British, I think, at this point.
Oh, okay. Doing the whole kind of forcing the book in your hand, saying, "Have a look at this." We love social awkwardness.
But also, I think conventions are made harder because like the pandemic, which we don't want to keep mentioning, but it's such a major thing. The after effects that had on people socially, that are still being felt by people, that can never be underestimated because. You know, people have issues now that they didn't have before, or it just exacerbated issues. So, conventions they've got a bit of an uphill struggle, haven't they?
I think there's still some good ones out there. I think Enniskillen's great from what I've seen.
Yeah,
I really want to go to
that.
Heard, and I think Lawless is good.
Yeah.
But for a sort of niche crowd.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. The Scottish scene is really sort of booming at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So conventions have changed massively. Will we table at a convention ever again?
We might do.
I'd like
as
to
the
say
podcast.
So. Yeah, I give it a go.
Yeah, someone offers us a free table in a hotel.
Here he is. Here he is. He's back.
There we go. Yeah, there we are. I never left. But creators and creative people since the 500. This is I took this particular topic.
Dan Charlie's going for a wee.
Is he? There he is. We'll just wait. Yeah. You've got to stay hydrated. That's very important.
The factoring into the kind of cons coming out, creators come in and out. Like he was saying, cons with the whole revolving door of creators stepping out and new ones stepping in.
We've been in a very unique position that we just found ourselves in because we were like trying to discover stuff. So we met people, we've discovered creators, and naturally you discover creators who are your favourite creator for 3 years, and they're not making books anymore.
Yeah,
they've gone on to other things. Yeah, you know. It's sad that you're not getting fresh books by that creator, but that's just the way it is.
It's always tough when you pick up a book and it's like one in a series. And it's like, You might not see issue 2 of this.
But the thing is,
one,
the nature of small press is sometimes you only see a book a year.
Yeah.
And you don't notice when they disappear.
No.
That's the thing, because it's not like every month or anything like that, or weekly, British comics-wise. But yeah.
And certainly when like creators are doing graphic novels, not even just like books, you get a lot of the people that you're reading, going into like best of.
We think
books
like
and stuff.
Reckless Heroes, they kind of putting out books now, used to be issues.
Yeah.
So now it's like roughly a book a year, and they're hit with that Masters and.
But they're also a good example of like discovering someone and just seeing how they grow as creators and as a brand. Just
they've evolved.
Seeing their table now, you watch their table and you're like, you see.
They've got enough people to do 2 conventions at once at the moment. So they've evolved. They've added people. Like Vander started working with them at one point.
Yeah.
Vander. And they've evolved. I think they're a good example of it.
Yeah.
Of being like a collaborative group.
Yeah.
Because
we have seen, and it's great to see when groups of creators come together with a sort of like joint positive, like we want to make comics. But that's also very difficult. Do you know what I mean? It's like putting a band together. If all the personalities don't gel, the band's not going to last, is it? And it's,
but then there's a lot of people doing with the Reckless Heroes. They're not creatives. They're just helping run the table and the story.
Yeah, and they're happy doing it.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah. And as such, they're going from strength to strength. And we've seen creators.
There's loads of creators sitting here that kind of all relatively new.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like we did episode 200, and looking out now, and there's a lot of different faces here.
Yeah.
They're just older.
Oh, yeah. That's yeah. And that is, it's sad that we don't see some of the people that went at 200, but also
That's
it's amazing, and it. No, it wasn't. It was 200. 300 was a different thing. Jesus Christ, John Ottaway. Just in case audio
300 is actually his body count.
Oh, right.
And rising.
Yeah. I always get slightly worried when anyone fact checks us.
Yeah,
because it makes me doubt myself.
Wrong.
We're always wrong. We're always wrong.
The bomber didn't see John's Roman salute.
But we've seen a lot of creators sort of make big deals in the indie scene and just get bigger and bigger, and like whether it be like Ram V now.
Yeah.
Ram V. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get to it. Ram V, Martin Simmons, of course.
Yeah, I love mine.
I mean, Chris Wildgoose.
Oh, I've not heard of him.
Christian Wildgoose.
He insists.
Who's very kindly joined us today.
Yeah.
I mean, he works in comics, so that made him really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Although he's texted his mum about it already.
Yeah. But there's these creators that we discover these works, and we share them amongst ourselves. Like each one of us has created someone, and then we all become joint fans of them, and you just see them go from strength to strength. But also to see them handle themselves in a way that. Because there's lots of people like, I want to work in comics full time. I want to be a professional comic maker. If you want to, then there's a certain way of doing things. If you want to work for those big publishers.
Well, you're saying they change that method seems to change all the time.
I think that's what Mark Waid says, isn't it? He says it's like escaping from a prison. Once it's done one way, you can't do it again.
Yeah.
So breaking into comics is the same way. You can do it in this way, but the next person won't manage it.
Do you know what? I'm getting tired of that term, breaking into comics.
Yeah.
I think,
Just
comics have been
yourself.
broken for years. No,
Yeah, I mean, you're right though. I mean,
because
we are in comics. We are in comics. That's
because that also, and I think now more than ever, that would suggest that comics are a pedestal. Like, you're only in comics if you're working for these people. You're not. You can do whatever the fuck you want, and you can do it however you want, and you can put it out, and people can buy it, people can read it, and Hear me, Jesus. But it's true. Like, it is, and that's why the focus is like the show was always like, let's look at these people who are just making comics, because I mean, we can sit and complain about some of these bigger titles that we're not getting anything out of, or we can talk about how great they are, but that's not what interests me. It's like, those people that, and I think because we've had those struggles, we've had, how are those people doing these comics?
Well, I think it's more for me the old kind of the creator with their single vision. They're doing all the duties in their comic and putting a book out that they want to make, and it's a kind of unicorn property as opposed to a kind of camel of committee of like everything.
On the camel.
yeah.
Was it Dan? It's a horse by committee.
Yeah. But, I mean, we talk about anyone can make comics, but do you think it's easier or harder than ever to make a comic now?
I'd say easier.
Easier. I was just talking to Daniel, where he is. He got together an art team, made his book, sent it in to mix them, and he had the copies back in his hands a week later.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
I always talk about when in the 90s when me and Ed Greeno went to Catford Print and had to explain to a load of blokes who'd just had a fight in the pub what a comic was. They're lucky they didn't call To Catch a Predator at that point.
But like you got, we'll move on to my bit, but like the digital options of publishing a comic have never been easier.
Even I can work mixing. Even I can do that.
Wow.
You're impressed, aren't you?
Wow, that's really good.
Lots
of big print on the website.
He's looking, thinking he can't.
No, he can't. But I think, and also for people listening to this show that maybe are going to make their comics, or they're thinking about making a comic, do you think it's easy enough for them to find out about how to print, how to colour, artists and stuff? Or is it too much? Is there almost too many avenues now?
Well, obviously on the net, like you got everything you can possibly want. But like, if you get involved in any kind of small press community, there's loads of people that help you out in doing everything. Like, if you stuck your hand up in the Slack and said, "Does anyone know how to do X, Y, and Z?" You'd get 3 or 4 answers.
That is the Awesome Comics Podcast Slack, by the way. Many of them are here today. And that's a wonderful group.
I think it's like we'll get notes. The
right. The fourth Beatle, Tom Curry. He's just sat to the side like some sort of producer, and he's handing us notes.
We forgot to do the sponsorship ad.
Put at the
end. This shows how little faith you people have in me, because I never forgot it.
We're doing it at the end.
But I can't segue now. If I was, I would say you can quite easily go to Global. No. But I do thank you to Global Comics for sponsoring the show. What were we talking about?
I was about to say about zines. So it is easy to make comics from a technical point of view. Yeah, sure, okay. You can all you can find somewhere like on the Slack or somewhere to upload it. But also just you can go to all these zine workshops and just fold a bit of paper and you've got a comic.
Yeah.
And I think that's always been the case though. It's just the zine aesthetic now is something that is sellable depending on what kind of person you are for either £1 or £5. You know, it's easy to do.
All right. Yeah. Here's a question. I'm going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons now. I'll be devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the words that some people don't want to hear. No, I'm not. I big up too
John
much.
John at the door.
Yeah. No. Because it's so easy. Do you think people rush into it, or should they stop to think about what they're making first and better their craft? Make it. I mean, we talk about it, sometimes we get a comic and we go, bloody hell, this is really...
The best school of learning for me is doing it. Just make a comic rather than sit around. If you sit around waiting to do something for when you think you're ready, you'll never be ready enough. You're always thinking, I could always do this a bit better, I could write a bit better, I could do whatever better. You learn the craft by doing it and experience.
I agree. I think the difference comes, and I agree completely. I think the difference comes is when you sell it.
Yeah.
So if you're selling something, it needs to be good enough to sell.
To a standard.
Yeah, to a standard. That's a good way of putting it, yeah.
I mean, the standard in small press is great.
Do you think it's higher than it's ever been?
Yeah, I think so.
Totally. Yeah.
Not everything's perfect, but I think it definitely is higher.
As print production methods have got easier, and generally kind of making this stuff is easier and easier, people are putting out better and better books.
I saw a book on Global Comics the other day, God bless Global Comics, but they'd just taken thank you, Tom, they'd taken a picture with their phone of the page, right, and uploaded it, but their thumb was still in the picture.
I mean, with AI, anyone can make a comic, so that's great.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, well, that's it from us.
Yeah.
I've got your AI right here.
Oh my God. That's how you play the audio medium. People will think something happened that didn't actually happen.
Sexual.
Yeah. But I think if you're a creator who's just starting out, there's loads of options available to you now. And certainly there's lots of advice on our show, on the Slack and stuff. Do you think like we always go back, look at the back catalogue. Do you think some of them are completely outdated now in terms of like making a comic and stuff? Do you think we've, looking back at what we've done over the 500 episodes,
things massively wrong over the years. Yeah, about perhaps some advice I've given.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. So we can't. I mean, to be.
If you're asking if I've never been wrong on the podcast,
well, you haven't.
You haven't.
So that's
fine.
Yeah.
But.
But it has to be wrong every fucking episode.
Have you heard? Was it Cornwallis Marchmont Street?
Yeah,
episode 500.
I did it.
That's coming up.
Yeah.
I was looking. I said the advert for this twice because I was looking up the details of the advert as Tony was reading the advert out. So it's completely over my head. So like, it's my time to fucking shine, and then say the advert again. So that's me. My bad.
Good. What's our next thing?
Webcomic. Well, going from creators and how they make comics and how it's changed over the years. An avenue we want to, I think this year in particular, we're going to. I'm certainly going to try and look more into it. And I've always looked at Dan as the sort of, he's the one that knows what he's talking about, and that's webcomics. Sorry to put all the pressure on you.
No, I think when we first started
but you
the show,
came
I was
from
the web
yeah,
comic.
yeah, you
guy.
started
Still
with
on,
web.
man.
Yeah.
It's not great. I'll do a show of hands here, which won't work on an audio medium. Who
We can describe it.
We can describe
reads a webcomic now?
Just Vanguard.
This way. So it's about half
Yeah.
half people.
Oh, that was me.
So it's a great medium to, like a no stakes medium to get your comic to your audience doing a webcomic. You really don't have to. You can go on a free service, Instagram, stick your comic up, and then immediately you're getting out to an audience, which is great. So, like what I did with Vanguard, I didn't plan to kind of print it or anything, but I did make it in a print format. You build up a bit of an audience, a bit of a readership, and if there's enough take up, you can print it and give it out. 10 years ago, I kind of looked back and had a look at the webcomic scene. You had services like Drunk Duck, which they've renamed now to the Duck. And I think
That's what you started on, wasn't it?
it was. Yeah, I started Vanguard on Drunk Duck. I think they renamed it because they wanted to sell it, and financially, like investors don't like investing in a site called Drunk Duck, so they went to the Duck. Back in the day, Tumblr was more kind of prevalent of people doing like more autobio comics. It was very kind of LGBT friendly. You could put anything on there. They got massive readership on there. I think where a lot of the furry and My Little Pony fandom came
furry
from.
every time.
I know you got a big interest, so I thought I'd bring it in. Started on Tumblr. There's another strange thing as well.
He's got a script. He's got a script.
It's not a script. I'm just taking notes.
Guys.
You used to be able to advertise on webcomics. There used to be a service called Project Wonderful, and you could stick banners up on your site, and people would like auction to have a banner on your site, and you could get like 50 cents a day. Some of the big webcomics used to make not do too bad out of that. But once kind of Google Ads came along, and generally kind of that kind of advertising fell out of favour, that was like the death knell on that. You won't see a webcomic nowadays with much advertising on it because it's kind of pointless. And I think as Google ranks stuff, if your site's loaded up with ads, it doesn't do you too many favours. Also, there's some webcomics back in the day that unfortunately don't update anymore, and I'll read out one of them called Romantically Apocalyptic.
That was really. I remember
this
that.
Was big, yeah.
Yeah, it was big.
Charles Snippy finds himself lost and alone at the end of the world. He makes a wish for a friend, and he meets Z Captain, an eccentric lunatic luminary who drags him for an adventure through an eldritch, deadly, questionable, and limitless post-apocalyptic world of tomorrow. A place where goodness makes the rules and everything he has purpose and passion. To describe this, you can look it up. It's two people dressed in PVC bondage gear with like Nazi stuff, and they walk around the post-apocalypse, sort of like musing to one another. And when you used to see this at the convention back in the day, it was quite a sight because he used to get people coming up dressed as the characters, and it was like, okay,
it was a big deal back in the day.
Yeah,
they had a table at Thought Bubble, I think.
Really?
The
Dressed as Nazis?
They weren't dressed. They were just the creators.
Oh, right.
They weren't dressed as Nazis. I have to be quite specific about it. The characters had a certain. They had a certain
flavoured.
Bondage Nazis.
They had long black leather coats and like they almost looked like who's that villain from the Hellboy movie?
Oh, yeah.
If you're a comic creator and someone turns up at your table at a con dressed in as a character, it's like You've had it.
Yeah, you've had it. Haven't you?
Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
I'd dress up as a man because no one else would. But
You didn't have to.
I had to.
He dressed up as a Viper, didn't he?
Yeah.
I thought he was delivering a pizza.
He got really paranoid that we knew. Do you remember? I think
Yeah.
they know. I think they know.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
So
I remember that weekend. All I could hear was, "It's fucking boiling in here."
it's really hot.
With the lights on, I can't see anything.
Shout out to them, helped make the suit. Cheers to that. So kind of webcomics now
Great.
is the advertising's completely gone, and we're now the vertical scroll comic. They've kind of realised that everyone's looking at their phones.
Well, Webtoon. Who was the first person to do that?
I'm not sure if it was Webtoons or Tapas, but the vertical scroll. I'm not even sure if it was more kind of from the east kind of thing that they started the vertical scroll.
Yeah. How big is Tapas now? Because remember we used to
They're
talk
still-
about
We had John Freeman on talking
They're
about
still
that.
both decent services. I think the vertical scroll thing might be an age thing, like for an older readership, like we've got here, and me. I can't take to
Comicsology's vertical
I
scroll,
can't
isn't
take
it?
to the scrolls. It
some of
doesn't
them.
work. For
Some
me.
of them on Global Comics are vertical scroll as well.
Do you guys read the scroll comics?
I
don't read the Infinite ones, but I do scroll upwards with it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I can't
think
cope with the Infinite one because nothing happens for fucking.
yeah. On Webtoons, like if I go on Webtoons, it's almost like my brain's programmed to be like, I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
But if I was reading it on Global, I can't
It
do it.
keep.
And also, if you're going to create a webcomic like that, there's a skill to doing it right. Like for instance, you go to any bookshop, there are volumes of Lore Olympus, which is a fucking gorgeous book.
Yeah.
And it's a skill to turn that, which is vertical scroll, into like a proper printed book. You know what I mean? So I think probably that's why. Well, there's many reasons why that's such a big title, but certain creators like that, they're thinking about another product, another way, because if it's only going to be in one sort of format, it will only have a certain shelf life. And if you want to be a printed book, there's probably a lot of creators who have done a vertical scroll.
Yeah.
And when they've tried to turn it into a printed book and go to a convention, what have they got? Because they can't. So you have to bear that in mind if you're going to create that.
Well, there's a book I got as a manga, and I didn't realise it started as a vertical scroll, and then it went on to be a Netflix TV series, a Korean horror thing about.
Is it that book you've donated to the?
I did donate another manga though.
What was the name of that, Dan?
Dick Fight Island.
Yeah, that's right.
If you lose the quiz, that baby's coming home with you. So big names come out of like modern day webcomics. Got Lore Olympus, Sunstone, Heartstopper, which has gone on to be its own Netflix adaptation.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We did go through kind of a shaky period where it seemed the entire comic industry was trying to do Netflix pitches.
It's interesting though. Like you mentioned some of those names, and then I'm like, because I've seen them in bookstores, I didn't know they were webcomics.
Yeah, I ain't got a clue.
Yeah.
No.
That chap that does Sunstone, Stefan. He's now started working in ZBrush, and you think, how's he going to take to this? And then like you look 2 weeks later, and it's like he's got 3D comics on the go, and you're like, okay, he's done. He's really
very
good.
Yeah.
So we've got Global Comics as well. Obviously, I'm not sure if that's the place for webcomics, but you can upload page a week, however you do it. But that's another.
Well, if you go to Global Comics,
find out.
you can, if you're a creator, you can publish your digital comics for free on there. There's loads of tools for creators. Well, they actually sponsor the show.
I can see that.
Tom. No, I'll do this at the end of the show. I don't want to break you. You carry on, Dan.
No, so it's kind of webcomics future. I don't know where they're going to go. There's always going to be, from now on, reading comics digitally is always going to be a thing.
I do it all the time. I do it every day. Yeah.
I think me and you, well, all of us were kind of like taking the oath, we're never going to fucking do digital, and then like
I didn't have a Comicsology account when I started this podcast.
No.
A couple of years down the line,
the first couple of years we were talking about what we read on Comicsology, and you had
minimal.
I wasn't even logged into it.
Yeah. Especially like guided view and things like that. But it changes the way you read things.
Massively.
It's the go-to if I back a Kickstarter in the States, and sometimes it's like I'm taking a gamble on this comic. I don't know if it's any good. I'll get a digital, and you kind of you're helping the creator out, but you're not.
Do you think creators are better off going straight to Webtoons or Tapas, or do you think they should do it?
Depends on what the model is, what they're.
Because you go on Webtoons and you see like the thumbnails. I'm lost unless I'm looking for a specific title. There's so much.
There's
on
a lot of
So scrolling through Netflix.
Manga's like just absolutely taken over, and like a lot of the web comics nowadays are manga flavoured, and because that's what they've been, that's what they've grown up on.
Yeah, I know Pat was talking about Vampire Knight. It's going to be a manga now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
one adaptation of like.
No, I think it's rewritten.
Rewritten.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty heavy. Like,
that's the most detailed page in the history of the world, isn't it? And it's now going to be a manga.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Cool.
So seeing the like peaks and troughs of like, when we say comics industry and stuff, it makes us sound like we know what we're talking about. But as we always say, this is just our opinions. Everything I say is there's no facts in it whatsoever. If there is, I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if that's true.
But like we've seen like an industry sort of have peaks and troughs, and whether it be from publishers, the ongoing crowdfunding debate. What do you think the world is like for comics in the next 500 episodes? Because it's changed. So that is the biggest question.
I ain't got a Scooby Doo, man. No, I couldn't call it. I think the big hurdle now is the Orange Man's tariffs.
Yeah,
that's what's going to break or you know. There's talk I saw in TCJ this week that comics will become too expensive.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that and how it survives and how it changes because of that.
But also, like sort of before that, like we were talking about the postage fees and stuff. They have such there's these things that creators have, you know, who because we all just want to think about a creative project. We all want to think about a comic. No one wants to think about how much it's going to cost them to post their book across the world. But it's going to stop you posting your book across the world, or people won't buy it. Buy it.
Yeah,
you know.
And we talk all the time about on Kickstarter with like, I really want to see this book, and then you go, what, 48 quid to post it to me?
Yeah,
you know, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah,
it's rough.
Yeah,
I think it's just another hurdle, man. It's just another thing that's putting a building a wall up, bricking a wall up in front of us. Yeah. Every few years, something new happens.
I think it's the age-old thing of trying to get comics into people's hands. I mean, we bang on about it. You used to be able to go down the newsagent, there'd be loads of copies. You go to the supermarket, there's loads of copies. It's really tough.
Maybe this, like when we had Miller on, he sort of said, I'll stop recording, let's have a chat. And he was talking a lot about how this is the future of comics because we're in that financial dip. He says historically it's always been what they make at home, what people do in groups of friends that then push the medium back up again.
And that goes through
this might be that.
Music, everything.
Yeah. Because it's word of mouth. That's the reason that most things become, I think, popular, whether it be music, movies, you know.
Like PR is an impossible task these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And half the time it's just clickbait horse shit.
Yeah.
Squid Games wasn't nothing till I started talking about it on Twitter.
Is that it?
Yeah.
You're like a kingmaker, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Dickfight Island's going to be the next thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Is that being turned into him?
Fucking
if it does, I don't want to know. I want a star.
Oh my God.
He's giving it life.
Yeah. He's out in public and he's full of beans. It's because he's had a full fat coat. So, before I move on to some questions for you guys, right, I'm going to test your knowledge about this specific show that we're doing.
Okay. As long as it's not about comics.
What advice do you have for a comic creator now for the next, not 10 years, for the next 12 months?
Make it.
Because we're talking in January 2025 now.
Yeah. Make the comic.
But that's almost 5% of the deal now, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think I think people perceive it, and I think you're right. In a way, it is, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, like me and the guys at Tribute, we make comics. We couldn't give a flying fuck if nobody bought it. Yeah. We're just having a laugh making it.
Yeah.
And that is honestly, I know I was saying that in a
but it does unburden you. It does unburden you if you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It allows you to be more creative. It allows you to
but there's a certain freedom to that as well, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just don't worry. Don't worry. Just make it. If you've got it in you to make a comic, just get on with it.
And if you've got a comic and you're nervous about people seeing it, please send it to us because we'll check it out. You know, and who knows?
Thanks to everyone who's brought us comics today.
Because there's stuff from all, and it's not just. I mean, this is a UK-based show talking about an indie scene in the UK, predominantly. But we've talked about a lot of like worldwide comics, and we've seen stuff all over the world. You know,
where's Chris? Chris is it. He just brought us a load of Australian comics.
Yeah, and that's just absolutely amazing stuff. There's stuff from Hawaii. There is. I think one of the things I'm excited about now is discovering the world of comics. That's beyond the front door.
It's just trying to access it. And
Yeah, finding out about it. And hopefully if we can do that, then we'll certainly get in touch with people so that then you lovely people can discover more comics. It feeds itself. Stop reading my phone and the answers. Right, okay. Okay, so, that's comics, but right now, I'm going to test my co-host.
On the last one.
On the
you remember?
How well, we've been doing this for quite a while, but how well do my co-hosts...
My memory is like a steel trap.
Know the podcast, okay, right? And some of these you can have a guess. So there's a couple of questions. Okay, if you were to start with episode 1, and on average we have 2-hour episodes. Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry about all that waffling over the years. How many days would it take you to catch up?
2.5 months.
Days. I didn't say months.
72 days.
72 days.
60 days.
60 days. You're both wrong. 83.3 days. Yeah. 83 days and 8 hours.
That's a lot of listening.
If you didn't sleep, would that kill you? If you were just listening from episode 1, would you? What, you think they'd be a proper friend if they did that?
Yeah.
If you survive doing that, please let us know and we'll have you on the show.
Sometimes you can only get so many boners. That's the problem.
It's true. It's true. I mean, you've had 6 already today. Okay.
It won't be a record.
What episode went wrong and I ended up having a small meltdown, resulting in a hastily recorded episode with just me and Tony?
That's because Dan had gone to bed.
He'd gone to bed, and we had just had a fantastic conversation with Is McAuliffe about the upcoming Cardiff, which was another great convention, which is no longer on.
238.
160.
It was episode 134.
Oh, all right, okay.
Titled Comics Talk, sort of. January the 29th.
You just texted me when I didn't press record.
Yeah. And he was ever so nice to me on the phone.
I talked you down.
He was like, "Do you want to just do another?"
Let's just do 45 minutes.
Behind the scenes, we're actually like nice people, aren't we?
No.
I think I just turned the phone off and went to bed.
But
It was unread.
If you wanted to listen to that show, it's from January 29th, 2018. See if you can figure out in my voice.
In your voice.
Yeah. You can hit. Can you?
Yeah.
Oh right. Right. Okay. What date was our first episode?
It was. Was it like the 5th of July 2015? Is that a good guess?
I would say August time, but I think Tony's got it on the nose.
July the 6th, 2015.
Oh, that's a
How
good guess.
long was the episode?
Hour and 30.
Yeah, I was going to say hour and a half. Hour and 20. Same difference.
It's right in the middle. 1 hour, 25 minutes and 59 seconds.
And I think 25 seconds of that was you clicking your pen.
Yeah. I mean, we're lucky if we get to that now. We just end up just waffling all the time.
That's an advert now, that is.
Okay. Who does the Awesome Comics Podcast theme tune?
Oh, mate. Fucking hell.
And I said to you recently, I still like listening to the theme.
His name's Chris something.
I don't know.
Chris Lack.
No, but Dan can have half a point for that, because Chris Lackey is the co-host of HP Podcraft, which is now Strange Studies of Strange Stories.
Okay.
And Chad Pfeiffer is the co-host,
yes.
and he does the brilliant theme tune.
Yeah, very good.
Which I don't know what I did that. Okay. Right. Can you name any of the links or recommendations that we had on episode 1?
I'll definitely shout out Vanguard and about that.
Down the tubes. Down the tubes.
Hang on, I've lost my link.
Filibuster.
There it is, I got it.
Was he
Down the Tubes was on there, yeah.
Yeah.
He was right for them at the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Down the Tubes, Vanguard. Don't know.
Okay, do you want me to read out the whole list? Okay. You Lemons, check for limes.
What's that?
Oh, I did that one.
You did that one, see? Comica, Vanguard,
Oh, there you go.
Reynard City, The Red Mask from Mars, Stalkerville, LCAF, No Brow Press, Avery Hill Publishing, The End of Summer, SFX Slam, Blood Blokes, The Rabbit, House Party.
End of Summer. Was that the Tilly Walden book?
I think it was.
So that was like before she blew up. So we're a proper head of the
Oh,
game.
we've always been ahead of the game. Yeah. The Spectators, Tiny Pencil,
no rubber.
Cat Slater's Got a Penis,
I don't know who did that one.
the Cardiff International Comic Expo, Heart of Time, Moon, Planet Hulk, Last Days of Nobodies, Bajo Mano,
God, yeah.
Bear Mageddon, and Descending Outlands.
Bear Mageddon. Fucking hell was that?
That was a webcomic, Bear Mageddon. That was very good.
Very good.
Yeah. There you go. And can you remember any of those books?
Yeah, Spectators. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the big one.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
What's the name of our Instagram account?
I never know that. I don't know.
At the Awesome Pod.
No.
Oh, you know I never know that.
You were running it for a long time.
I know.
At Awesome Comics Pod.
You
on
did
Instagram.
create it though. You created it.
It's good we kept that name all.
Consistent.
I mean, this show hasn't been consistent
No, fair.
in 500 episodes.
Good.
But I think with that, I think we've got a few thank yous to do.
Yeah.
But
Shall I do the first one?
you can do whatever you want. And we're a very professional outfit. You can do whatever.
So thanks everyone for the donation. First off, we're thinking about 500 quid so far in the raffle, which is absolutely brilliant. If you've got a ticket, go and check because I think you picked them, so we know where they are.
I picked a lot of them, and there's still about 30 things to pick. But come and look at your pile.
You may well have won.
The top comic is probably a pile with your name on it.
Yeah,
So after this,
there you go.
and if you don't want it, no, I'm not throwing any shade anymore. Can you put it on the table where Eamon and Simon are in front of me? That will either go in that is then the free comics table. If you want it, take it. If you don't want it, I'll take it, and we've done it.
And we go to a charity shop
Real?
in Southfields, Oxford.
And there will be more raffling later.
Yeah, keep going. Thanks so much for the very humbling amount that you handed us. We'd have had a chat about it along with Tom. And what we're going to do, we're going to cover the costs here. We're probably going to buy each other a book, and then the rest will be going to Mind. So we really appreciate the money. We feel, and we appreciate that you got it for us to get ourselves something. So we're going to do that as well. But the majority of it will be going to Mind, which is the charity that we often raise money for with DUI and stuff like that.
To do the shouts.
Yeah, do you want? Have you got shout?
No, you go for it.
What do you mean me? I thought you
Have
had
you
it.
got the list?
No, I thought you had the list.
As an organisation. Well, shout out to Craig Shields for running this.
Good old Craig.
Congratulations.
We did invite him. I don't know where he is. I
No.
hope he was going to come today. But so ACP Recommends is the site that he runs. If you miss a book or you don't catch the name, you can go back and find out.
Yeah, it's brilliant,
We'll talk
actually.
about really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Tom Curry, who's helped us over the years. He's set up an excellent quiz, which we've got coming
We're going in a
shortly.
minute. Yeah.
Massive shout out to the Don.
Yeah, thanks to Don. You did Tom Stewart.
Some people who have been big supporters of the show, like Tom Stewart.
And Dave Cranner.
Dave Cranner.
Yeah.
Both unfortunately live in Scotland.
They couldn't-
I say
and
that
they
because
couldn't
of the
make
storms.
it. Yeah. Sorry.
So they're much missed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good geezers, both of them. Although for some reason Dave Cranner was sending me pictures of someone with head injuries yesterday, but I don't think it was him. I don't know what that was all about.
I think they just fell out with someone at the airport.
Yeah, he nutted someone, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, the comics community is wonderful, isn't it? Obviously, the staff here at the Marquis Cornwallis. And I think, obviously, we're going to talk to a lot of people that are here. We have talked to a lot of people here on the day. But it goes without saying that if you're listening to this, thank you. That's it's an audio show. We're having a lot of fun here on the day and all this art.
I still remember, honestly, to interrupt you, I still remember the first one went out and you went to me, I thought it would be only about 60 people listening to this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And 500 episodes later,
yeah,
there's a whole... There's,
still is.
Yeah.
And we're all here. You know the listenership's going to go right down.
And I still don't know anyone's name.
My best bit of the day is trying to give Dan the wrong names for people who...
I always go to Tony at cons. People comes up to us at cons and speak to us for about 20 minutes. And they go away and I was like, who was that, Tony?
Yeah. So enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed this strange little episode of the podcast. But we have had immense fun preparing it, and stay tuned because there's so much more to come, and there's going to be lots of new voices. We're constantly trying to figure out how to make comics anyway, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, and this.
Falcon's going. He's had enough.
Yeah, he's had enough. that's Adam Falp has had all he can take from us, and now he's leaving, and now he's coming back.
He's letting him out.
He's letting him out. Wow. Seeing the comics community in the wild is fascinating, isn't it? But yeah, this is a very sexy room. So, if you've enjoyed the show and the show in general, and you want us to talk about more, there's several different ways. We're on the wind-up. This is exciting, isn't it? There's several different ways you can get in touch with us. You can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Follow us on social media. Instagram is... There you go. At Awesome Comics Pod, or X is...
The Awesome Pod.
Yeah, thank you. Well done.
Nobody goes on there anyway.
No. Well, I have to set up all different types of accounts and all kinds of things. If you want to get any shirts, you can go to acpgear.redbubble.com. And thank you to everyone that has bought a shirt. It's a bit wild. Some of those shirts are so limited edition they will stop existing after this weekend. Yes, and you can thank you for listening, whether it's on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, what can they do, Dan? They can subscribe and
comment, like,
leave a review.
500 episodes.
500 episodes, and also on Spotify. You can leave comments and reviews, and we're also on Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife. What are the networks we on, Tony?
Hey up, Wayne! You've come in me eye.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Otway. Thank you.
That was a lot of work for a joke.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
He put the accent full on there. That was good.
Yeah.
I thought George Formby was in the room.
Yeah. When I'm cleaning windows.
That's not a dig at you, my friend.
Now, but where can people find us online, etc.? Tony.
Neveronanything.com.
Dan.
You find me on X at Vanguard. And you can read Vanguard at vanguardcomic.com.
You can find me on social media at Justin Diablo. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for being here. And keep making comics. Keep enjoying making those comics and reading those comics. And is John Otway's leaving as well? Wow. We really know how to empty a room, don't we? But no, in all seriousness, keep making comics, letting us know about those comics, keep reading comics. And for the week ahead, what should they do, guys?
Stay awesome!